Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Cut and Splice. This is Gil, and I'm here with Matt and Jason. We wanted to do a second go at doing the directors. I guess uh, what would you
To
call it?
head.
Like yeah, head to head. We did the Spielberg v. Scorsese, and we felt appropriate for the '90s generation that we do like a Tarantino v PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson, and hopefully this one will be a closer match because the last one definitely leaned more Spielberg by the end of it, and it seems like all three of us ended up rewatching the same Tarantino movie in preparation, which was kind of amusing. We all watched Jackie Brown.
Well, you
Yep.
had told me that you were thinking about it, and I thought to myself, I haven't seen Jackie Brown in it's probably the longest. Uh, I've probably seen all the others since the last time I saw it. I don't think I'd seen it in 10 years.
Oh, and Matt, like, how did you think of that one? Did you hear it from us or?
Same as Jason. I just haven't seen it in so long. I mean, I didn't even remember who the cinematographer was on that, and that's usually a sign that I need to brush up. Um, Guillermo Navarro, good work on that one.
Yeah.
Also, shot on my favorite film stock ever. So, uh, yeah, Kodak. If you ever feel like listening to me, bring back 5279. Anyway,
I'm sure they're listening.
yeah.
um, yeah, but it's funny that we thought about that one because it is an odd one. And then also me and Jason, I just finished before we logged on. Like we watched. Did you end up watching Inherent Vice, Jason?
So 2 nights ago, I watched Punch Drunk Love again, and then tonight I started watching Inherent Vice, but I was so exhausted from yesterday. Well, over the weekend I did a lot of physical labor, and so I was not caught up on my sleep, and I got to probably about 40 minutes or something like that in, and I was dozing off, so I stopped it to go take a nap real quick, and then I never picked it up again.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna give up on it like halfway through just because I was running out of time, but I basically put it in the background the second half of today just to get through it. But yeah, I feel like if nothing else, those two movies will pair up actually pretty well, interestingly, because they're both like adaptations of these very, I guess, I don't know. Um, they're both based on novels that sort of like have this like
Mm.
intrigue about them and sort of like a detective slash
They both have a noir element to them.
yeah, and cops and robbers type of thing to some degree. Not really, but yeah, sort of like a neo noir, but mostly just the fact that it's Tarantino and PTA doing like a full on adaptation as opposed to like the closest thing I guess PTA did like was the Upton Sinclair like the oil thing for There Will Be Blood, but it was a very loose
Mm.
adaptation versus this where it's probably a closer thing where he was just trying to I guess capture the essence of like that world and the period and all that. So it's interesting because it's very different approaches. Um, but um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, any thoughts about just generally this matchup, like as a start, or should we start going into the movies? I wouldn't mind even starting with those two, but maybe there's better matchups that we can come up with if you guys.
No, I mean, I think it makes sense. I mean, to my understanding, that it like you were saying. I mean, I obviously There Will Be Blood was a loose adaptation, but yeah, I think Inherent Vice was PTA's only literary adaptation up until his movie is also a literary adaptation, I believe. Uh, but
Which one?
yeah, uh, um, One Battle to the Next, or the movie that he's got coming out this year is also an
Oh,
adaptation.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see.
hmm.
um,
Interesting. Well,
But
I should start off by saying that just no reason to like beat around the bush or anything. While I understand the reasons why we decided to pick these two to go, like to compare and everything. In my mind, it's not much of a comparison. I am a, and without getting too deep into it, because I know you like to, we're going to do like a compare movie to movie kind of thing, but like just in general, I really like uh, P.T. Anderson. I think the first movie of his I saw I didn't really love that much. I think was probably Magnolia. I thought it was okay. I thought it was very interesting, very different, whatever. But like, I didn't love it. And then over the years, as I saw more and more and more of his movies, I started to like him more and more and more. And I really like him as a filmmaker. But to me, it's like Quentin Tarantino is like one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. P.T. Anderson to me has like two fantastic movies and then a bunch of stuff that's like okay. But for me, I'm siding way into the Quentin Tarantino side of this.
Yeah, and that's why I felt like this would be somewhat better than Spielberg's Scorsese, because it is a similar thing where, I mean, Tarantino, aside from being technically pretty good as a director, like he shoots things really well, ambitiously. He's also like a marksman with his words. Like his dialogue is famously like, nobody even compares to him. Maybe like Mamet comes close, or like Sorkin, but not. I still think I can't even think of anybody that writes better dialogue than him.
I can't either.
But um, which PTA is a good writer. He's a good dialogue
Very good.
writer too, but not even close to the level of. But that's exactly. It's a different thing. That to me, it's very similar to, because because Tarantino has this ability. He's a technical ability to, whether it's like to, like even with Jackie Brown, he spices up the dialogue in a way and adds this pop culture stuff that makes it very, very entertaining, relatable. It just kind of holds you together during the movie, which is why all his movies are wildly entertaining, because no matter what's going on, there's always that very spicy dialogue that keeps your interest.
His
And
dialogue has so much flavor to it.
but he is also a bit much like Spielberg. He's not childish, but he is immature. I feel like PTA, much like Scorsese, is a more serious um, director. Like he's a more serious storyteller. He's a more mature. Like he handles things. Like if you just compare Jackie Brown and Inherent Vice, Jackie Brown is a pretty mature movie. It deals with like real people, real emotions, and all that good stuff. But the level of sophistication and density, yes, it's not as entertaining, but for a certain specific audience, there's definitely an appreciation to that. I've heard a lot of people about Inherent Vice saying that on a second, third watch, like if you really appreciate everything that's going on there, because it's extremely layered. It's like a Chinatown-esque type of thing.
Yeah.
Only it doesn't have the same forward momentum as Chinatown. It doesn't have the same iconic moments. But I mean, and also I feel like the humor falls flat. So like, yes, there's things that work and don't work, and Tarantino has those moments too in his movies that maybe don't work 100%. But overall, like you definitely see that there are two artists that are just like doing some really, really solid work. But I understand that from the standpoint of like a fan favorite. I mean, PTA has got a nice cult following, but Tarantino is a rock star director, which PTA is not. He's more like an introvert, rock star of sorts. Like he's the nerd rock star. But the comparison is definitely because they both came up around the same time.
Yeah.
It was like the early mid '90s, and they both came with like blockbuster movies like Boogie Nights and Pulp Fiction, like both of their second movie, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
think so.
yeah, I mean, which is like probably the most apt comparison. Like I think Boogie Nights, and they should be, just because it's their second movie, and because they're
Widely
it's
considered their best.
then they're widely considered their best. Even though There Will Be Blood, like we'll see, like that one needs to be compared to maybe something like either Kill Bill or, in my book, more like Inglorious Bastards. If it's like a more like you know technically better or
Interesting.
yeah, but yeah, I mean we could start there. I mean I think but yeah, I think that there's similarities between them to some degree because they are basically those rock star directors, just in a different way from that period. Um, but Boogie Nights is not my favorite movie of PTA, so I would give the edge to Tarantino there with Pulp Fiction, which ruins my thesis about it. Uh, and what would be your vote for like that one?
Particularly close. Obviously, the whole bit about the porn industry transitioning from film to video and whole, spiel about, that looks like shit and sounds like shit and all that crap. The golden age of smut filmmaking. That's something I kind of wish I lived through. Um, but uh, yeah, I mean, yeah, they're both fantastic films that I could, yeah, whenever I have 3 hours to kill, it would be, yeah, it's very regular that I'll pick one of those two up. But I mean, Pulp Fiction is definitely the superior movie overall.
Yeah, that one's a tough break for PTA, but I think I'll do better in the other voting for him. Um,
Mhm.
but I do think for me too, yeah, it's Pulp Fiction because it is Tarantino's best movie to my taste, and Boogie Nights is not my favorite movie of PTA, so at least in my, and I'm assuming Jason, you're also in the Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth mentioning that to me, um, P.T. Anderson's best films are Punch Drunk Love and Boogie Nights. Not necessarily in that order, but probably in that order. Like, I really think that Boogie Nights is easily his second best movie. And it's like, but I would still say that Pulp Fiction is better. I mean, I think that, you know, that one definitely stands. Since I think that's probably Quentin Tarantino's best, also. I mean, I would say it's that's the winner on that one.
Yeah, so 1-0 for Tarantino. Um, maybe we should get the Jackie Brown and Inherent Vice out of the way. I mean,
Sure.
I do think that looking at Jackie Brown again, because I actually saw a documentary about Tarantino, and Sam Jackson said that his favorite movie of Tarantino is this Jackie Brown, and I can totally see that because what's cool about that movie is that it's not very violent. It's not a very Tarantino movie. It's like all like interpersonal intrigue and people making moral choices about the lives they want to live and all these like forks in the road of like, do I make a right? Do I make a left? And it's all very good drama, and he handles it really well. If nothing else, I hope that like if he doesn't want to make like if he doesn't want to write and direct movies for the rest of his life, like it would be nice if he just did that because he can totally make great movies just adapting like source material and adding his spicy dialogue to it, and it's really entertaining. It's not it's I still think it's pretty low on my ranking of his movies. I mean, I might put it over Kill Bill because I just don't like that movie very much. But if there was another movie I was going to rewatch, which there's no way I was going to have time, but I need to rewatch Kill Bill too to see if it's got any redeeming qualities. But we'll get to that when we compare it. Um, yeah, but I still, unfortunately, in spite of like my appreciation for what's going on in Inherent Vice, I do think it's mostly a miss for me. So I have to give it to Jackie Brown.
For clarification purposes, when you said you need to watch Kill Bill 2 again, where you were saying you need
Oh,
to watch
one
the
and
Kill
two
Bill movies again, not
movies.
you need to watch the movie Kill Bill 2 a second
Yeah,
time.
yeah. I treat them as like one movie
I
because
think he does
yeah,
too, because he
yeah,
considers Once Upon a Time in Hollywood to be his ninth film. So he definitely has to consider those ones to be
yeah,
one.
yeah.
I think Inherent Vice. Well, okay, it's worth mentioning that I've never seen Phantom Thread and I've never seen Heart Eight, but
Oh yeah,
but I
you'll
do
have to
think
abstain with those.
yes, I will have to. I think that Inherent Vice is one of his three weakest movies, even though um, uh, much like one of his other weakest movies, I think it has phenomenal moments within it. I just think that overall it's kind of a mess. Was really excited to watch it again, but like I was saying before, I was really exhausted and I didn't have enough time to finish it right now. But Josh Brolin's so funny in that movie. Um, but anyway, yeah, I consider
Moto
Jackie.
panqueques.
Yes, it's one of my favorite moments of the whole movie. I consider Jackie Brown to be the lower half of Quentin's movies as well, but I think Jackie Brown's much better than Inherent Vice.
Yeah, watching Inherent Vice again yesterday, I can't even really tell you what it is, but I just cannot get into that movie. I keep it was my second time around it, any real connection to it. I mean, no matter how skillfully it's shot and how interesting it is to look at, and I mean, there are really entertaining performances, but and I mean, I it's one of those things where I can, as an objective observer, just kind of say, like, yeah, I understand that this is a pretty well made movie. Just in general, I just don't connect to it at all. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. It's like that scene toward the end of Back to the Future where his mom is trying to make out with Marty, and it's like it's kissing my bro. It's like kissing my brother or something. It's just like, I there's just something. There's something about it that I can't understand. That's just repelling me from the movie. But
Interesting.
And you know what I thought about when I was rewatching it today is reminded me of Barry Lyndon to some degree, because it's
huh.
sort of like trying to essentially take the experience of reading a novel and imprinting it onto a movie experience. Whereas Tarantino didn't do that with his, but like keeping the narrator voice, like the voiceover on top of it, the storyteller to some degree. And I don't know if that's the narrator in the novel itself, but I'm just saying it's possible that that's what it is. And he was just basically essentially as like an exercise, like a movie exercise from a very skilled director. He's like, can I take the feeling of reading the novel and imprint that into a movie screen? And if you do that, it doesn't always give you a home run, but it creates this very odd experience. Like it's like watching a movie that's similar to reading a novel, just like Barry Lyndon, where the pacing is slow like a novel, and you have the voiceover of the narrator. Like it feels like watching a novel essentially. And it's yeah, and novels are not always going to be interesting. They're intricate. They're they're fascinating, but they're a lot of work. They're like we've often said, like they're like a cold medium. So you end up getting a cold movie out of that if you don't transcribe it correctly to the cinematic experience. That you have to really work hard to engage with it and appreciate it. It's almost like the equivalent of a Tarkovsky movie, just with less visuals and more dialogue. you know, and not that it helps with a Tarkovsky movie, but I think that kind of a thing. And you appreciate it, but it's just not the same. It's just not, and it's not as big of a home run as Barry Lyndon. I mean, and Barry Lyndon is an imperfect movie, but it's still pretty much considered a masterpiece in spite of that, because of all the stuff around, like the visuals and everything that
Yeah.
was done there. But you appreciate like the texture of the period, and like the way he really goes into detail, and which can lead into other movies of his, like Phantom Thread, The Master. Like he really digs into these like periods and try to get the texture of it, and the feeling of like transporting you there, like sort of like Tarantino did with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Um, but uh, but yeah,
I
um,
also wrote down in my notes about Inherent Vice. I wrote a note about the narrator. I think there's plenty of examples of really good movies that have really good narrators in it. That's fine. Sometimes movies are way better without the narrator. Just like perfect example being like Blade Runner. We got a chance to see it with and without, and it's way better without. But uh, but I was going to say, as I was watching it again, I only watched about the first 40 minutes or so, but I made a note to myself. I said, like, I don't like the narration. Like, I think the movie
hmm,
probably could have used narration just fine. There's something about the narrator's character that I think is just weird and wrong. Like, you know, uh, a lot of um, what is it? Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is narrated by Val Kilmer, I think, his character, and it's like, or oh no, it's what he I think he says some words in the narration, but no, it's Robert Downey Jr. and it's like he's such a silly, unreliable narrator that it's like it just adds so much to the story and sets a tone that's so good and so on and so forth. And then like in this movie, the character is like a friend of his or something, and I mean, she has a very distinct character. She's like a hippie, and she's weaving a lot of her thoughts in and out of what the exposition she's giving and stuff like that. But it's like at the end of the day, there's something about it that just it's not hitting. It's not working for me at all.
yeah. No, I mean, I have to agree. I just think
Hmm.
like, and that's what I appreciate about like PTA's career is that if nothing else, he gives you a variety that I think Tarantino's career lacks. Is just he goes all over the place with the techniques that he utilizes, the type of stories that he tells, and Tarantino a bit more he's got his own universe. Like he goes to different places, whether it's like the slavery thing, the Nazi thing, and the Hollywood thing, like or and then he goes to make a western in the snow. Like he tries to have variety with the locations, but a lot of it is mainly like revenge movies and genre movies, and it's a bit one tone. But I mean, you can't deny that he does it better than anybody who's ever done it. So I mean, at least like that specific thing. But at the same time, I don't think what's unique about these two filmmakers. I don't think Tarantino can make to the same success the movies that some of the movies that PTA pulled off. Um, but that said, like I mean, I'll give. I think we should do next one, like see which one should we pair with There Will Be Blood, because that one I would claim there's no Tarantino movie to my taste that comes close to it. I borderline if it was head to head with Pulp Fiction, it would be close to a tie. Like
I would argue that that since we try to find ones that have similarities, it seems to me like because the time period, the scope of the movies, and how massive and epic and grand they both are, and everything like that. I would say almost like the Hateful Eight might be a comparison. No,
uh, yeah, I mean, I would like to eliminate a better movie than that from Tarantino's docket. I mean, that's why I think Inglorious Bastards, which is one of my favorite movies of Tarantino. The reason why I think it's similar to There Will Be Blood is because it was a period where they were both like on top of their game, and I think what both of them have similarities is that they like Tarantino was never better than Inglorious Bastards when it comes to the scene construction. Like some of the scenes there, like the opening scene, and then the scene in the bar. I don't think he's written better structured scenes than that ever. Like those are like his top two scenes, or at least like if you make a top 10 of Tarantino scenes, those two would be like in the top five, maybe top three. And I think, and There Will Be Blood too. I feel like, I mean, the opening of that movie and the way that PTA goes about it, and some of the scenes between Plainview But
Eli.
Eli, yeah. So some of that stuff there, like I mean, he's never written better scenes. Like it's just it's like really like on a next level. So I don't know why those two feel similar to me in that sense. Um, but I might be wrong because I just feel like that's like two movies where like if anything were to be close at all to There Will Be Blood for me aside from Pulp Fiction, it would be Inglorious Bastards, maybe Reservoir Dogs, but Reservoir Dogs definitely is like a notch down from those. It's just a very impressive first feature, but it's not it's not like 100% there. But that would be my comparison, unless is there any. What do you think, Matt? Between the
uh, that it's hard. I mean, I don't think that there is a. I, I think in terms of like the kind of movie There Will Be Blood is compared to Quentin Tarantino's filmography, the closest we've got is apples to oranges. I mean, yeah, I think it's closer to like apples to turnips or something.
well, when you think about it, Kill Bill, technically, if you think like a lead character that's single-minded and is doing like one thing the entire movie,
yeah,
you could
That's
again,
fascinating.
it's a lesser movie for me from Tarantino. So, and I know it's gonna hurt the PTA, score, but if you wanted to do that to Kill Bill, I would take There Will Be Blood like easily.
yeah. I mean, really, between the two of them, There Will Be Blood is probably my favorite film from either of them, except for Pulp Fiction. I mean, it's really high up there for me. I mean, it, I think I saw that movie like three times in theaters. I mean, I was kind of obsessed, um, and still kind of am. I mean, it was. Yeah, I mean that it's up there. It's a spectacular movie.
Yeah, I think in some ways There Will Be Blood is sort of like PTA's Taxi Driver, where he just tapped into something so primal about human nature that just it's just gonna stand the test of time. And it's and Tarantino just feels like he's playing in a sandbox with like sand toys compared to like the depth of like how far like PTA goes with that movie. Like not denying anything that he does. Like it's great entertainment and it's even might be sophisticated poetry to some degree what Tarantino does, but I just feel like There Will Be Blood is it's just like an all time classic. Like Pulp Fiction rises and fall on the whole movie time dilation structure, the dialogue, the characterization, but really, I mean, it's not a profound movie. It's just great entertainment. I mean, I'm sure it's got something to say about morality and all that stuff, like Sam Jackson trying to like rehabilitate himself and stuff. But again, it just doesn't go nearly as close as generally PTI. I think just goes much deeper on a lot of these things. But and it's fine. It's like different entertainments for different folks. But yeah, but There Will Be Blood is like I think as good as it gets from me with PTA. I mean, I think Punch Drunk Love and The Master I think also go pretty. Phantom Thread too, but I don't know. But I guess so. We're doing Kill Bill. I guess so. Jason, what about your vote for that? If it's Kill Bill,
Well, I mean, this shouldn't be any surprise to people who've listened to us talk for years and years about these two directors. But uh, I mean, you guys obviously hold There Will Be Blood much higher than I do. Um, I think it's PTA's probably his third best movie. Again, I've never seen Phantom Thread or Hard Eight, but I think it's probably his third best, just above Magnolia or something like that. But um, I mean, for me, if I was to draw like a tier, the only, like I said before, I kind of alluded to this already. The only PTA films I would put like in the top tier would be Punch Drunk Love and Boogie Nights, and then for Quentin Tarantino, I'd put like Pulp Fiction and Kill Bill and Reservoir Dogs and maybe Death Proof or something like that up there, just because I love that movie so much. But everything else Quentin Tarantino made, Jackie Brown, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think are his probably fifth and sixth. And then below that, the other three, Inglourious Bastards, Django, and Hateful Eight. I would say personally that all five of those movies are better than There Will Be Blood. So like I would say that pretty much everything else in Quentin Tarantino's filmography is better than the rest of PTA's films.
Oh, wow. So you're going to be skewed in that direction. So we're like, so technically, based on the votes, we're 1-1, right? As far as the,
I don't know. Yeah, sure.
I'm just out of curiosity because to see like, um, cool. So, yeah, we should basically use Tarantino movies because I think he's made less movies. Did he? I guess about the same. But in any case,
Six.
so what would be the Inglorious Bastards comparison? Like,
I
mean,
liked your idea of that one compared to There Will Be Blood, but
oh well, then fine. But you would still take Inglorious Bastards, right? So it
I
doesn't
think
matter.
Kill Bill is better than Inglourious Bastards, but I would still put Inglourious Bastards over There Will Be Blood.
Over the Blood.
It's just much closer.
Yeah, fine. I mean, we can keep Kill Bill on the docket. The so yeah. What about like you said, Hateful Eight? I mean, the only thing I can think for Hateful Eight is maybe Magnolia because it's like an ensemble, you know.
Interesting. I didn't think about
Mhm.
that.
I mean, a lot of his Tarantino movies are ensemble, but I don't know something about they're too out of left field type of movies. You know, like they're unique within the so that could be a comparison. And you know what? I even though Magnolia is one of my least
Mhm.
favorite PTA movies, if like I had to pick between the two of those, I might have to pick Magnolia. You know, it's funny. Like it's if you ask like which movie would you take like a like a an island or something. If you were stuck on an island, you can only watch one movie. Like I might go for the Tarantino movie for like entertainment value, but Magnolia, I feel like it's got more meat on it than anything in Hateful Eight. So I mean, I would vote Magnolia, which is yeah. I'm already feeling slightly better about this. I was getting worried.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's one of his weaker movies. It's really well written, but there's not much to it, and it drags a bit. Like the pacing there, it drags a bit too much. It's he doesn't shine as well. I would say this in Hateful Eight than he does in Reservoir Dogs. As far as like one location, you know, that's what I would say. But maybe I need to revisit it. Like,
It's an interesting. I know we're comparing the other two movies, but just since you brought it up, thinking about Reservoir Dogs and Hateful Eight is very interesting because Reservoir Dogs is that first film. It's like made for no money, and it's so good. I think it's better than Hateful Eight. So many of the same
I
actors.
think it's a bit like too much indulgence in that point in his career. That if he puts himself in one location, it's just. Whereas in Reservoir Dogs, he was trying to be very compact, very succinct,
Yeah.
very to the point because he was just trying to like yeah.
Well, I mean, it's such a. We are definitely not the first people to say this. There's so many people who've been critical about this aspect, but it is such a strange decision to make an epic movie, an epic western shot on 70 millimeter with a massive ensemble cast of fascinating characters and make the thing like what 3+ hours long, something like that, where you need an intermission and all this stuff. I mean, he made an epic giant movie, but that's the movie that's in one location. That's weird.
Yeah, it's kind of like his style. You see, like it's yeah, like I don't know why wouldn't he open it up to like because like his idol like Sergio Leone, like like he made a western, the wide open spaces, and
Yeah.
like it's this to me like it reminds me of 310 to Yuma, where like my problem with that movie is that the whole movie was shot in close-ups, and I'm like,
Mm.
what are we doing here? Like it's a western, and I feel like I'm suffocated. Like it's like Son of Saul or Mother, but I feel like it's just it's not the whole point of westerns is like the wide open spaces and all that. But maybe I don't know because there was a prisoner that he's trying to get to a train. Maybe that was supposed to be the why the choice is there. But yeah, it's the same thing here. Like why wouldn't you want to open it up? But
It's weird.
in any case, but yeah,
Yeah.
what's your vote though if we compare those?
Oh, I mean, like I said, I mean, while I consider The Hateful Eight down near the bottom of Tarantino's movies, I mean, I still think it's better than Magnolia.
Then Magnolia. What about you,
Yeah.
Matt?
Uh, geez, I might actually tip off where I'm likely to go from here on out in saying that I actually probably like the Hateful Eight more than you guys did. I mean, I actually kind of maintain that it's my favorite Tarantino film. Uh, I think post Pulp Fiction.
Oh,
Wow,
That
that's big.
yeah. No, and you
and
know what? And I kind of get it because I'm not a huge fan of the revisionist history movies. Like I mean
yeah,
I like some of them. I like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and I like Inglorious Bastards, but I like them not for that reason. I like them
Yeah,
for the moment to moment
you liked him
execution
in spite of that
in
reason.
spite of that gimmick. But what's refreshing about Hateful Eight is that like he finally put that uh, to rest for a movie. So maybe
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that part of the reason, Matt? You think that you have appreciation for that?
I, I, yeah, that and yeah, fundamentally, I, yeah, I like the slow burn of it. I just think that it was. I mean, Tarantino, we've already mentioned, one of the best dialogue writers ever, and I, he he leaned on his strengths with the Hateful Eight. Uh, I mean, entirely. He, that it was all his strengths, none of his weaknesses, in so
and I
many
mean,
ways.
Kurt
I mean,
Russell and Jennifer Jason Leigh are amazing in it too.
yeah,
I mean,
and
anybody else, it would be a train wreck. That's definitely something to be like for
yeah,
someone to like, unless it was like 12 Angry Men or something. Like it needs to be like some seriously good writing to yeah to make that in for 3 hours. That's even 12 Angry Men didn't do that for like three
No,
plus hours. Yeah.
yeah. I forgot who it was, but there was a film critic who, like, after Django came out, just kind of said something that I thought was actually pretty insightful, which is Quentin Tarantino no longer makes movies; he makes trailers.
huh.
And
Yeah.
it I think that was kind of a nagging thing that I had with Django and Inglorious Bastards, and to a lesser extent Kill Bill, in that, like, Kill, like what you were saying, some of the best scene construction you could ever muster out of it. Like, the basement scene in Inglorious Bastards is one of the best short films in and of itself that you can imagine anybody ever making. But the movie as a whole isn't, as an overarching narrative. The movie isn't all that strong. The individual scenes are amazing, but the totality of it isn't all that strong. Whereas the Hateful Eight is, the totality of the movie. I mean, like, because it is confined a little bit more. I mean, you do actually have just one 3-hour story, and it's not. I don't find myself watching the Hateful Eight and thinking like, oh well, that 20-minute section is one really great movie in and of itself, but the rest of it, it doesn't really amount to anything for me. But I guess that's where I kind of stand on that. But all that said, I would still go with Magnolia.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
Nice twist. Um, yeah, I mean, Magnolia is one of those movies. Maybe if like Inherent Vice. No, not really. But that when I first watched it, I was fairly young, and I just didn't get it. I felt like it was too long and too this and too that. But then, as I watched it like a second and third time, and I got a little bit older, like in mid to late 20s, I was like, oh, this is pretty good. Like this is really well thought through and sophisticated, and it kind of comes together pretty well. It's quite like an achievement, like this kaleidoscope of characters, and yeah, it's like, yeah, fathers and sons and all that. Like I just feel like it's just very very ambitious, but it gets weird for sure. Um,
Yeah, I
it's
actually
an
had a
imperfect movie,
similar.
but
Yeah.
mhm.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you.
No, go ahead.
I actually kind of had a similar experience with Magnolia as I did with Heat. I mean, in that, I was 14 when Magnolia came out, so like I saw it way too young, and uh, so completely over my head. Just 3 hours of I mean, though Magnolia was the movie where I really realized how much I hate pan and scan, because the first time I ever saw it was on VHS, and most of it was was pan and scan. But there was this one scene with John C. Reilly where the whole scene is covered in one shot, and they're both on opposite ends of the frame, of the anamorphic frame, and they couldn't pan and scan it. So that one scene is letterbox. uh,
Oh my
in the
gosh.
on VHS. They're like,
In the
okay,
TV version.
so yeah, that's why you don't go full screen. But uh, yeah,
Um,
but yeah, it's definitely a movie for uh, adults with a certain attention span. Uh, but I mean, they both are. Both Hateful Eight and Magnolia. I mean, they're for adults with a certain attention span.
so maybe that
Uh,
was a good comparison.
yeah,
So what's since PTA has Punch Drunk Love and is there any other one? Well, no, not really. I was trying to think of like slightly humorous movies. I mean, Punch Drunk Love is not really humorous, but it's definitely like also Licorice Pizza. But what's a Tarantino movie that's a bit lighter? I guess Death Proof, right? Would Death
yeah.
Proof
I
and
was
like Punch
thinking
Drunk?
about it. I can't think of
Like,
anything that compares to Punch Drunk Love.
yeah, that's like slightly tongue in cheek type of thing. I don't know.
It's just Punch Drunk Love is like this magical little love story, and there's like no love story. And in fact, the only movie of Tarantino's that has anything resembling a love story is, at least in terms of showing you the will they won't they, is probably Jackie Brown, and we already went through that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
The another comparison would be what we were saying, or yeah, like Licorice Pizza, because if anything, that one's, even though it doesn't have Adam Sandler in it, it is more humorous. It's got more humor in it than Punch Drunk Love. But I don't know. Yeah, obviously this whole concept is stupid because it's tough to compare between movies. But mostly it's like matching the movies, not necessarily on the theme, but just the quality
Yeah,
of them. Because I feel like, if nothing else, like let me, I mean, find another movie that's, I mean, would be like maybe Once Upon a Time in Hollywood would compare well to like The Master. I mean, they're both like
oh, that's
period
interesting.
movies, and they're
No, they
both
both deal
about
with
like
cults.
it cults
Oh yeah.
and two characters, like two lead characters that are kind of like sort of like a bromance of sorts,
Yes.
Mhm.
like Brad Pitt
Yeah.
and DiCaprio, and then you have uh
Philip Seymour
Phoenix
Hoffman.
and Hoffman. yeah, Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah, I mean that was a tough one. The Master is, I think famously PTA said that Magnolia, for better or worse, like whatever movies he makes in the future will probably end up as being his best one. But then I think he flipped and then he said The Master is probably the best movie he's ever made. Um, and I think it's a really good movie. I haven't revisited it much, but I do think it's a really solid movie, and I'm sure I'm going to appreciate it even more if I would. That said, which one was the Tarantino one? I forgot.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah,
Time in Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That is one of my favorite Tarantino ones. Like it's up there with Inglourious Basterds as far as like just some of the scene construction, and it is less heavy on the violence throughout the movie until you get to the end. So that one's definitely a very impressive. I think what the strength that Matt talks about in Hateful Eight is he brought it with him to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, only it's an open movie as opposed to a closed movie. And that's why I think I appreciate it more than Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
So I mean that one, as good as The Master is, I might give Once Upon a Time in Hollywood a slight edge. Jason, I'm assuming
You
you're
guys both saw The Master before I did.
Yeah.
And I do remember seeing The Master in theaters with Gil, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks later or whatever after it came out. Eventually, but uh, I don't love The Master. I put it down near the bottom of PTA's movies, with like Inherent Vice and Licorice Pizza. But I do really like aspects of it. I remember I was kind of thought this was funny, but also a good thing to say. Like before the movie even started, I think Gil was just like thinking about it or something. But he like leaned over to me and he was just like, I think he just, I don't know what you wanted to communicate to me exactly with this, but you were just sort of like, there's something about this movie where it's like, it's such a incredible example of controlling the tone of a movie to convey something through tone, and I was just like watching it like, man, that's true. It's pretty cool in that aspect. I don't love it though. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood I do love. I consider that to be the better of the two movies, clearly. But I mean, I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has problems too. The narration is a big problem with it. I have no clue what in his mind motivated Tarantino to decide to have two different narrators and to change it halfway through the movie. It's not like they're narrators talking to each other or something like that, like a banter or something. It's like half the movie is one narrator, and then the other half of the movie is a second narrator. And the second narrator is Kurt Russell. And Kurt Russell has, at that time, had already been introduced as a character in the movie, and not a character that really has any sort of like you know any sort of like thing that would lend you to feel that he would be a good narrator. It's a weird choice for sure. And then the weirdest part is that I think that he could have, the best choice would have been a different character in the movie actually, but that's getting into the weeds of it. But yeah, I actually kind of agree with what Joe Rogan said about it. That it's a great movie, but the 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 stuff in there, regarding Bruce Lee is so strange. Not because it doesn't make sense. If you've ever heard, Quentin Tarantino talk about Bruce Lee, it makes sense that he would put that in there. But it's almost like it didn't really serve much of a point in the story, other than to just show that Brad Pitt was really good at fighting. but yeah, I really liked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I loved the ending, and I think it's the best out of his three revisionist stories.
Yeah, I probably would give it a slight edge over Inglourious Bastards as a movie. Just the moment I think in Inglourious Bastards, but like Matt said, yeah, the overarching thing is more of a problem. This so Matt.
I go with the Master.
Cool.
But I agree with everything that was said about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I mean, at a gut level, I think I preferred Inglorious Bastards just as an experience, but uh, again, as an objective, dispassionate viewer, I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a better made film, but uh, The Master is masterful. God, that was cheesy. But
No, I definitely feel like upon rewatch, like I might change my vote, but yeah, I'm going off of like, and also to keep it interesting because now it's tied 2-2.
yeah,
um, Slightly more
yeah.
interesting than the
Well,
Spielberg the Scorsese.
and I mean, it
Excuse
might have helped me too. Like, I was working at the movie theater. Like after we saw the screening of The Master, actually did a run of that at my theater, so I was able to catch that a couple of times. Just uh, unpriced. Before after a shift, I could just pop in and rewatch it. So I kind of know the movie really well. uh, yeah,
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Your very first viewing experience of a movie really paints a lot for you for anybody.
yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it
yeah,
can, but
and
I still picked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, even though I had that master screening.
yeah,
No, I just meant to say, like, I was
yeah,
just as he was saying that, I was thinking about how
Oh,
you guys got to see that thing in
yeah,
that
like
very
early.
special way, and I was thinking about how earlier 5-10 minutes ago we were talking about the Hateful Eight. I know Matt had already seen it once before, but he went again with me to see the Roadshow version or whatever, where it was like a long version, and they had the what's it called, the uh, oh my gosh, what's Overture and the intermission, and then we went to the Landmark, so it was like super nice theater and really good auditorium, really nice. I think I was drinking, it's just great.
Yeah, it was like I guess that could lead into Phantom Thread because I saw that at the Landmark and I got like this little brochure with like
There
the
you go.
images from all the dresses and stuff that were like made for the movie.
mhm.
But yeah, what would be? I mean, Phantom Thread, it's like second or third favorite movie of PTA for me. So it's one of those that can't. If I was gonna compare it to anything, I'll just compare it to like the closest thing in a Tarantino movie, and that would be as far as quality, and that would be only like as far as the mastery of scenes and overall. And I guess Jason, you didn't see this one, so I
Yeah, I
mean,
didn't see it. Yeah.
we could always skip it because PTA has more movies, but it's a very strong one. um, um, I can always pivot to maybe keep it for later, but I can always pivot to um the main point I'm trying to make with this, I can pivot to Punch Drunk Love, but I don't think Tarantino has made a movie as good as Punch Drunk Love, including Pulp Fiction. I mean, like Pulp Fiction, again, I said like Pulp Fiction maybe neck to neck with Punch Drunk Love, There Will Be Blood, and Phantom Thread for me. Um, but um, but his other movies don't come close to those three for me. I mean, for the most part. Um, so let's just say I don't know if you can compare Punch Drunk Love to Inglorious Bastards. What would you pick, Jason? That's a weird one.
Oh, well, if we're going there.
I'm just talking like two because at this point it's tough to compare them.
No,
Just
no.
like
I
two
mean,
very strong movies from both
no,
of them.
I know. I just,
Um,
I didn't expect you to go there. I thought we had already done Inglorious Bastards. It's
sorry. It
fascinating.
could
No,
be
no, no.
sorry.
It's fine.
Kill Bill. Kill Bill. Yeah, it could be that.
Oh, okay. See,
That's a tough
because
one.
if you'd said Inglorious Bastards, this is one I would very clearly say. Uh, Punch Drunk Love, like I said, is my favorite PTA movie, and I just rewatched it 2 nights ago, and I was just like, oh my god, the use of lighting in this movie is so great. And Luis Guzman is one of the most underrated character actors in Hollywood. He's so incredible. He's so funny with so little. in this movie. Like just facial expressions mostly. It's just outstanding. I mean, that is my favorite PTA movie. If you had said Inglourious Bastards, I would say that's better for sure. The only two movies I would probably put over it from Quentin is probably Pulp Fiction or maybe Kill Bill.
Mhm.
Mm.
So if you had to vote, what would you say?
Well, which one are we doing?
Oh no, I guess I don't know, because like you wanted Inglorious Bastards for the other one, so
Oh, I
um,
don't care how we do it, but
if nothing else, it helps your. Well, let's say Matt, what would be your vote for Punch Drunk Love and Kill Bill?
Oh, Punch Drunk Love, 100%.
Okay, so it's fine. So it doesn't matter which movie we do. He's gonna get the point for it. So,
yeah. So
but what
if
would
we were
be
just doing Kill Bill,
but
then I would pick Kill Bill, but
Kill Bill?
just barely because I love
Just
Punch
barely.
Drunk Love.
It's good to know. So
I
three
mean,
three
Gil,
two.
you said it many years ago when we were all living together. You said, it's very important to, and I don't know if you said this part. This is just what I say because I've repeated this to many people and they get frustrated when I say it. There's a really big difference between quality and or like best and favorite. Those are really
Mm.
big distinctions. Also, it's important to realize when you talk about something being perfect, that doesn't necessarily mean it's better than something else, but it's like for what it was trying to achieve. And I mean, I agree with you said this to me once, and it's like I think Punch Drunk Love is a perfect movie. It's just it's a very relatively speaking, compared to like say, let's just say like
For what it
compared
is, it's
to
a perfect
There
movie.
Will Be Blood or something. Punch Drunk Love is far less ambitious
Yeah.
than Boogie Nights or There Will Be Blood or something like that. The story is very simple. It's very short. It's very whatever, but it is perfect for what it's trying to do. It is so perfect. I don't know if I would change anything about it. I love that movie so much. I don't think it's as ambitious as Pulp Fiction or Kill Bill
Mm,
or anything like
yeah.
that, but it is a very good.
So yeah, I think it's mostly the idea of this ranking thing is not really to necessarily match up movies perfectly, but just to say
No,
like, let's just take whoever's made the less movies or something. Like, let's
Mm.
just pick Tarantino. We'll name all his movies that are left and basically see if we can match a PTA movie that's better than it or close to it.
by
But
my count, we've got Reservoir Dogs, Death Proof, and Django.
yeah, exactly. That's all we all left, and it's not a lot. So I mean, Reservoir Dogs, yes, it's better than PTA's first movie, but he's made other movies that are much better. I mean, if let's say we're going with like I mean, Reservoir Dogs is kind of humorous and it's got an ensemble, and you could say that um, what's a PTA movie that's like sort of an ensemble that's left on the. I mean, there's Licorice Pizza is a bit of a you know tongue in cheek and thing. Um,
A lot of
yeah, I mean, I,
cameos.
I think a lot of cameos. I guess for that one, I would give Reservoir Dogs the edge, maybe. I mean, if we do that to give Tarantino another point.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think. Like, there's no other PTA movie that would probably beat out Reservoir Dogs except for Phantom Thread. For me, that are left.
There's some similarities. I'm not making a suggestion here, just pointing this out. Django is also very funny and shares a few
That's
common
true.
things with Licorice Pizza, like the
And you know
fact
what?
that
That would be a closer vote from me, but I think I would go Licorice Pizza for that one. So that definitely
Mm.
helps my case.
I was
What
just
about
saying, like how how like Django, while it's a story about what's his name about Jamie Foxx uh, and
Christoph?
Christoph Waltz, uh, throughout at least the first half of the movie, they keep encountering interesting individuals. Like there's the town he goes to where he shoots the sheriff. There's the town he goes to where they have to. The whole reason why he teamed up with Django in the first place to apprehend those brothers, and then there's the town he goes to where he's got to meet Don Johnson and the whole like early KKK type of scene and stuff like that. So there's a similar thing in that they keep running into these wacky characters that have like their own little scene, their own little story.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a good comparison. I mean, I think my vote would be Licorice Pizza What about you, Matt?
Um, objective observer, brain turned on, uh, cold analysis. Matt says licorice pizza. Over analytical, but well, not over analytical. Brain turned off for a moment. Voting with my gut, Matt would go Django.
Oh,
Interesting.
and Jason, I guess you would go Django
Well,
probably.
as I've said in the past, I don't even consider Licorice Pizza to be a good movie.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But at least you've seen it because we need to use ones that you've seen as
yes,
much as we
no, for
can.
sure, for sure. I love many things in Licorice Pizza, but I think the movie's a mess, and I think the ending is terrible. So, there's that. So yeah, even though I put Django towards the bottom of Quentin's movies, I would still definitely put it over Licorice Pizza.
Okay, so we're like 3-all. So let's say Death Proof. I I can't think of a PTA movie I would rank below it. So
Yeah.
except for like what's the first one? Like Sydney, the um 7 Up, 8 something.
Hard Eight.
Hard eight.
Hard Eight. Yeah, I keep forgetting the name of that one. Hard Eight, which is not a terrible movie. It's just that it's not nearly as ambitious as the rest of his movies
Mhm.
become. Um, but yeah, that's the only one I would rank below that. But and even that one I borderline would take over Death Proof. But he's still got, what does he got left? That's a good point. So we got
Well,
Phantom Thread.
yeah, and Hard Eight.
Oh, those are the last two. Okay, so that's actually
They both have
interesting.
9 feature films. With
Oh, so
Quentin, we've got stuff like
I don't know why like I was
his
killing
segment
myself
of
here.
yeah, I know. With Quentin, we have the segment of 4 rooms. We have movies that he wrote but didn't direct, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
as far as writing and
And with
directing, they're
PTA,
both
we've got like dozens of music videos.
oh god, so many music videos.
Yeah, so I mean let's do this because I do feel like Hard Eight and Death Proof are like their two weakest movies. I mean, that's my opinion. Obviously,
It's so funny because like I knew this was going to happen when we were discussing this. Like we have such different opinions
different.
about
Like,
this
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
because
it's
I
fine.
put Death Proof at like number 4.
Really? No, no, it's totally fine. And I'm not denying that somebody might rank it higher. I'm just saying for my
Yeah, yeah.
like Death Proof is like a nothing movie. I watched it. It's like okay, fine, but there's not much to it. Maybe if I rewatch it, something I missed. But it's just not really as spectacular or as impressive as his other movies. Um, yeah, and you know what? I would give him like I think I would give him like I might like Hard Eight is so low on my rankings that I might still that like I guess Tarantino's worst movie is better than PTA's worst movie. Um, so I would
Uh,
give it to Death Proof. So
I'm not trying to convince you, but just for the sake of it, since we're probably never going to talk about the movie again on the podcast, going back to what I said about like first time viewing experiences, um, when in I want to say '07, I think. Well, actually, I've got it right here in front of me. Let me look and see. Yeah, when Death Proof came out, when the Grindhouse came out, which was '07. Yeah, I remember that prior to it coming out, Tarantino, before he owned it, worked out a deal with the New Beverly, and they let him program the movies for an entire month. And so for one whole month, he dug up all these Grindhouse movies that he had, film prints for, and just had nothing but Grindhouse stuff for an entire month. I went to the New Beverly like probably 3 times. I saw like an animation night. I saw like a kung fu night and like a couple of other things. Um, and just getting myself, not even intentionally, just unintentionally getting myself in the mood for this double feature to come out that I was so stoked about. And then I remember going and seeing it by myself and seeing Grindhouse, and it's like watching, obviously, uh, uh, Rodriguez's movie is first, Planet Terror. But watching first off the Machete trailer at the beginning, I was laughing so hard. And then the movie is so funny and so good. I love Planet Terror. It's such a stupid and awesome movie. And then watching those trailers that all the other filmmakers made between the two movies, because they put Machete first, and then they put all the rest of them in the middle between the two of them. And I remember laughing so hard uh, when Edgar Wright's movie came up, his little trailer. I remember like being bent over, and I was wearing shorts because it was like in the summertime, and I was had this strange feeling of like what is happening, because my knees started getting wet, and I realized that I was crying because I was laughing so hard when he's got that thing where he's like, "Don't," or whatever the hell it's called, that stupid trailer of his. And then there's the Thanksgiving one, which is so funny. But anyway, yeah, uh, I I remember watching this thing, and it's like, I know you're saying that to you it wasn't that big of a deal or whatever, but uh, I remember watching this thing and thinking, number one, just like I am just so enamored with seeing Kurt Russell playing a psychopath for the first time. I'd never seen him do anything like that before. And that scene where he's like bleeding in the car and he starts like screaming, it was like so interesting and riveting to watch. But no, for me, it's like the fact that Quentin Tarantino did something that is so simple and so obvious that so many other people should have tried before him, but just writing a part around your stunt woman so that way you the whole rest of the audience knows that that's who the character is and that's what it is, and we can make it work so that we know that the actual stunt woman is the character, is the person on screen, so that we can have those shots of her on the hood of the car during this action sequence where they're going like 65, 70, 80 miles an hour, whatever, on the road while she's there. And of course, we know that there was some tiny little line holding her there just to be a little bit safer. But I mean, she still easily could have died. I mean, it's like this such a crazy, crazy scene that is, to me, like edge of my seat. Like, I just cannot get over how incredible that whole last sequence is. It's like so riveting and so, engaging. But yeah, that's why I love that movie so much. To me, it's just like I don't know of a movie that did something like that for me, where I felt so like worried about the character. I was just like, oh my god, she's gonna die. Like, that's it right there. It's so real. The camera's 2 feet away from her face, and they're driving the car, and the real actress who's playing the part is right there. It's like crazy.
The documentary I watched, they're saying how they did like one take, and he's like telling her, so what was wrong with that? It's like, what do you mean? Like, that was perfect. It's like, what were you doing? Like, what would you normally do as a stunt woman? Is like, oh, I was blocking my face to the camera because that's what stunt people always do, is they block their face. It's like, no, the whole point is like you need to expose your face as much as possible to the camera because that's why we did this whole movie. Like, that's why we're
Oh,
like,
that's so interesting.
it's like she had to go against her instinct as a stunt woman to play to camera the stunt, so it could be seen that it's not like anybody but her. But in any
What a
case, but
crazy problem to run into.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess Matt, what would be your vote?
Uh, Mary Elizabeth Winstead versus Gwyneth Paltrow. I'm going with Death
Mm.
Proof.
Death
Oh
Proof.
boy.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough one for like hard eight. But you know what? This makes it interesting because Jason can't vote on Phantom Thread, and I definitely give it. I mean, as much as I like Reservoir Dogs, and it's up there, I think it's like Tarantino's second or third best movie. Um, I do like Phantom Thread more. I think it's a better movie. So Matt, I think you have you're either gonna tie it or win it for.
Yeah, I'm going with Phantom Thread. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I really need to see that movie.
Yeah.
So I guess even if Jason had voted for Reservoir Dogs, which he probably would have, although now we need to make him watch it. Yeah, we need to make him watch it. So I guess it's a tie. It's like 4-4. Oh, what was like didn't we say they have 9 movies? How did we
They
get
each
to
have
4?
9 movies.
So where's the? How did I?
I really don't know. I lost count, but I think that it's very telling that here we are talking about it, and it's like neck and neck.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm happy about that. I was worried in the beginning. So we had Inherent Vice, Jackie Brown. That was Jackie Brown 1, right?
Sure.
We had,
Yes.
and then after that we had Pulp Fiction and Magnolia, Pulp Fiction 1, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Well, Punch Drunk Love won over.
It won over
Django.
Django. No, was it Django? No,
Think
Licorice
so.
Pizza. It was Django.
Oh yeah, Django won.
Oh yeah.
I think Django won, right?
Well, Matt broke it up into 2 possibilities.
Yeah. Oh, in any case. Oh, he did, yes, but oh, that's true. So what was your vote there, Matt? Maybe I
Oh,
miscounted.
motherfucker! Right.
He said it depends on which brain he's using.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It just bugs me that the entire reason for the entire plot of Django makes no damn sense.
And that was gonna be with Licorice Pizza, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I'll go
Which
with
one were
Licorice
you guys
Pizza.
comparing the master to?
Licorice Pizza. Okay, so the master we compared it to. Wow, we should have written this down. We suck
Once
at
Upon
this.
a Time in Hollywood, because they're
Oh.
both about cults.
We had Pulp Fiction
Versus
against
Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights.
Okay.
We had Reservoir Dogs. I remember was against Phantom Thread. This is why you write things down. And
that's
then
the one. Okay.
The Master was against Hollywood, right?
Yes, Master versus Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
And Django was against Licorice.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what Matt just said, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you guys both said.
Yeah. I'm gonna tally the vote later. I just want to get the movies.
No. I'm trying to like write it down.
Yeah, and so we had.
So which one was Hateful?
Hard 8 was with Death Proof.
Oh yes, that's right.
And Kill Bill.
So yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so you guys
was Kill Bill the one with it's the one you still voted for Kill Bill even though it was Punch Drunk.
Punch Drunk Love, yeah. So Quentin Tarantino got Pulp Fiction, Death Proof, Jackie Brown, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. PTA got Punch Drunk Love, There Will Be Blood, Magnolia, Licorice Pizza, and Phantom Thread.
Yeah, but what's There Will Be Blood like? What was it against?
There Will Be Blood.
Was against Inglourious?
Against
Inglourious?
Yeah, I think it was that one.
Oh yeah, because of the scene construction. So
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Where's the 9?
I got 9.
What movie am I missing?
I'm not sure.
Oh, Magnolia. Magnolia and was up against
whichever one's left. Hateful Eight.
Hateful Eight. Yeah, that's what it was. Ensemble, whole thing.
Ah, yes, that's right.
So for Tarantino, Jackie Brown won, Pulp Fiction won, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood won, and Death Proof won. That's 4.
Yep.
And for PTA, Phantom Thread won, Licorice Pizza won, Punch Drunk Love won, There Will Be Blood won, and Magnolia won. Yeah, so 5-4. Okay, yeah, it's a very close tally.
Very close.
Yeah, but I think that makes the point. This is what I wanted to happen, but didn't happen with Spielberg and Scorsese. So I'm glad it happened here, because I feel like even though these two people are very different directors and they're just like two generational talents that came up at the same time, and they do very, very different things. It's that's the whole point about like it's like the quintessential like how you can appreciate different types of of entertainment.
Yeah.
It's not that there's no depth to Tarantino movies. Like he's definitely, has a lot of humanity in it, and he deals with slavery and anti-Semitism and stuff like that. Like, but it's just he does it in such a playful, like just joyful kind of like I'm having a blast making a violent movie type of way that is not the way serious movies are made, but still he does it to such a high level that alone just puts him at this like very special place. Whereas like PTA is a more of a traditional like in the Scorsese sense of or a Coppola sense of just like very very like gritty, very like down to earth, very realistic, but at the same time um hyper like visual or kinetic or like he has a style, but it's still very grounded. It's very mature type of storytelling compared to what Tarantino is doing. Like he's got moments of playfulness, like Punch Drunk and some other ones, but it's still like just very like normal people. Whereas Tarantino is like borderline like he's making live action cartoons for adults, sort of like how Sergio Leone back in the day, like he was making people used to call it like making fairy tales for adults. Like his westerns were like like as you grow old, you don't want to watch cartoons anymore, but you want to watch cartoons in live action, and that's what Sergio Leone basically did with the westerns, and that's what I think Tarantino has done with his movies. Whereas PTA is a more just like a traditional sort of like yeah, storyteller and filmmaker, but just like doing it at a very very high level. The few are like his consistency. Like there's very few of those out there. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah, but I never thought about that actually. Like the Tarantino essentially making live action cartoons for
I
adults.
watch lots of cartoons to this day, so I don't know.
No, I know that like yeah, but I'm just saying like as you grow older, you definitely watch less animated movies. Let's just say, but there's something about the Tarantino movies that are sort of like what the Marvel movies are, but which is like essentially like a comic book come to life or a cartoon live action version of what like the comic books are brought to life, but that's what he does. Like the stuff in his movies is not realistic, like the way like the ending in Django Unchained with like the blasts of the fire and like every like bullet hitting a person is as if he was shot like a cannon. Like it just it's and what's going on in Glorious Bastards with like killing all the Nazis and stuff.
I think what you're saying is that PTA is less surreal than
Yeah, less surreal. Like Tarantino basically has got this very unique thing of like I'm not making realistic movies. I'm making entertaining movies, and
well,
and
especially
there
Kill
might be
Bill is very surreal. Yeah,
and there's gonna be interesting characters there and human interest, and it's gonna deal with like interesting subjects and sometimes like a little heavy, like slavery. But I'm gonna have fun with it. I'm not gonna be a Debbie Downer about it. Like, I'm gonna do a movie about like the time of the Holocaust, like chasing Jews, but it's gonna be a fucking party, you know, because the Jews are gonna get the Nazis, or like.
well, he's probably what plays into a lot of what you're talking about is that Quentin seems to be very actively chasing like certain genres. I mean, his first two films are like more of that crime type of stuff we talked about before that are very specifically with his like very special flavor to it. But after that, it's very clear. You've got like Quentin Tarantino's version of a blaxploitation movie. And then you've got like Quentin Tarantino's version of a anime come to life. You've got
Yeah,
Quentin Tarantino's version of a grindhouse movie. Then you've got I I wonder really between the two of them because they're both kind of unconventional. Which one is more of a Quentin Tarantino western between Django and Hateful Eight? I guess they both kind of are, but they're both very different in different ways. But yeah, I don't know. It's just
I mean,
interesting.
I feel like Django is more spaghetti western, and then like Head Flight is more of a proper Western, or like, I would say like
Hmm.
like his version of maybe like like a revisionist, like sort of like not Unforgiven, but just more laid back westerns where like it was all
Hmm.
about the dialogue and the mood and the and less so about the action and the horses and all that stuff. But yeah, like I think Tarantino. As you were talking, I was thinking of like another way to phrase it, but um, yeah, it's the black exploitation. Also, like the fact that like, he's a big fan of like Rocky, like he
Yeah.
and the book that he wrote um, about like film theory. He talks about like how when Rocky came out, like there was nothing like it. Like there was no movie has ever done that to that point and since. Like the pandemonium, like the fact that you can using a story to get people so excited about somebody succeeding in any way, like
Yeah.
a character on a screen, and that it completely transforms people's lives, and they're like screaming at the screen and like they're cheering, and that I think he spent his entire career trying to recreate that. Like, because also black exploitation movies too. Like you said, he went to all these like black movie theaters, like black cinemas, like with all black audiences, and there it's very much like the Rocky movie, only it's every movie there is like that, where they people yell at the screen and like they make comments, and it's a very like interactive experience. And I think was chasing that his entire career, is like I want to make a movie where people cheer when the Nazis get killed by by the Jewish woman, or like I
I'll
want
tell
to,
you, talking
or when
about like
Django shoots
putting,
all the white people.
yeah, or
Mhm.
I mean, the fact that he lays all the breadcrumbs out, throughout the movie, and then at the end of of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, spoiler alert, obviously, but like, you know, the moment you have Brad Pitt smashing that woman's face into the mantle, you're like, oh my gosh, oh, this is one of those. Up to this point, you didn't think it was a
Yeah,
revisionist
he was
type movie.
pulling
It
a
just
thing there, like
it
he was.
it tricks you, and you're along for the ride. Suddenly, there's the thing with the pit bull. There's the thing with him. He's defending, or he's fighting them, and whatever. The the girl grabs the 6 shooter and then runs outside into the back, and she's like, I think she's blinded or something. I can't remember why she can't see very well or whatever, but she like lands in the swimming pool that Leo's in, and you're like, there's a brief moment that even though they have so spectacularly failed to do what they got there to do, you're like, oh no, she has the gun and now she's in the backyard with Leo, and they laid all the breadcrumbs with the conversation with Al Pacino at the beginning, and then the brief shot of him opening up the pool house to like look inside and grab something, and you see it in there, and he runs into the little thing to get away from her as she's shooting wildly in the backyard with the 6 shooter, and all of a sudden he comes out with the flamethrower, and I was like, oh my god, you actually did this. And he just when he opens up with that thing, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, no, and to contrast that with PTAs, like I think he was chasing something completely different. Like he grew up idolizing like the generation of like Kubrick and
Mm,
Scorsese and what's his face, that one too, but like I think no, more like Altman, Robert Altman. Like the
yeah.
very, Kubrick maybe was the more surreal American filmmaker, but Scorsese and Altman were the very like,
Yeah.
overlapping dialogue and very realistic portrayal of like everyday people, like visceral, like you're really in the moment, like Mean Streets
Yeah.
or Taxi Driver. So he's more infusing that, like, which is very classic 70s, cinema, uh, at least like Altman and Scorsese. So he's coming from like, and also like, I guess is big like, what's his face? The guy who did Silence of the Lambs.
Jonathan Demme.
Jonathan
Demi.
Demme, which
Yeah.
was also very like, some of his movies were not Sounds of the Lambs, but some of his other movies were very like leaning on the visceral, realistic portrayal of human
Yeah.
interactions, emotions, characters. So he's coming from a very different place, but he's adding this yeah, this Kubrick influence that definitely shows up in There Will Be Blood, and some of the stuff in Punch Drunk Love, the surrealness of it, like it definitely there's elements of like stuff there, also for like French cinema too. But yeah, it's very different filmmakers and very different careers, but very, I think it's an interesting comparison. um, I'm glad it worked out better than the.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts before we
I was
close?
going to say something. You can cut this out, or if you wanted to be really ambitious, you can try to drop it in when we were talking about it earlier. But I had forgotten to mention this because we were kind of like in the middle of comparing and contrasting and stuff like that. But since I had just watched Jackie Brown, I just found this very interesting because of all of Tarantino's movies, that's the one um, it's been the longest since I'd seen that one. You know, even though I have it on DVD. Like I said before, I haven't watched it in over 10 years probably. And
Mhm.
um, I don't think I ever quite felt the same way watching it. But last night when I was watching that movie, I was fascinated by the fact that there's one scene where the cops are laying this out for the audience when they've kind of brought her in for questioning and whatever, and not Michael Keaton, but the other guy is kind of spelling things out for her, and he says, "You're a 41-year-old black woman working in a crappy for a crappy airline as a stewardess, and so on and so forth, whatever." And then not long after that, she's laying out the data, laying out the stuff for, she's talking to Robert Forster and everything, and it's like she's saying, I did this because I'm at this point in my life and I got screwed over earlier and now I'm stuck making like $16,000 a year or whatever, which in today's money would probably be more like 30 or something like that, but still whatever. And she's saying all these things, but she repeats the same thing almost, slightly different, but talking about being like a 41-year-old stewardess or something like that. And it's funny because I have always found Pam Grier to be very attractive. But as a kid watching this movie, not a kid, but a teenager watching this movie for the first time, I was just like, wow, it's like a very attractive older black woman. And then the last time I saw this, I was probably still in my late 20s or very early 30s. And I was probably still in this mindset of like, yeah, I'm watching the movie differently, but I still see her as this like older generation, which obviously she is in real life. But now, for the first time ever, I'm watching this movie and I'm 41 years old, you know? And I was just had this moment as I was watching it, and I was just like, man, yeah. I mean, I happen to be really lucky that I'm financially doing better right now than I have at any other point in my life. But you know, it really struck a chord with me. I was just like, geez, to be starting over, like she says, in the movie that'd be very rough at this stage in my life.
Yeah, I think there's definitely an aspect to you always relate to movies differently. Like if you rewatch them at a different age. I mean, especially like stuff that anything related to kids. If I watch it now,
Oh gosh.
then like it changes the whole perspective. But surprisingly, neither of them really have done much with kids. I mean, yeah, a
No,
little
not
bit
too
with
much.
Magnolia has like some child actors. I
Yeah.
guess a little bit like the Licorice Pizza is also about
Younger for sure.
younger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
but
don't have to put this in there because this is like this is not a podcast about Jackie Brown, but I just found it interesting. Did you guys ever think about this? Like, Jackie Brown might be the only movie of his where he didn't reuse any of the actors, with the exception, of course, being Sam Jackson, who's in basically every movie he's ever done. Um, but like, there's some phenomenal performances in Jackie Brown, and like he never really, used De Niro again. He never used Bridget Fonda again, and it's probably the best acting that Bridget Fonda. I can't think of a movie that I like. I love Bridget Fonda, but I think she's better in Jackie Brown than pretty much any other movie I've ever seen her in. And he always talks about how much he loves Robert Forster and why he cast him and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't think he's ever been in another one of his movies.
I think it's one of the things that Tarantino does really well, and PTA also gets people who were kind of like from less in the limelight recently, like with some of his choices, but definitely Tarantino is big on that. But also he's playful about it. Like he'll get De Niro for this like nothing role of this guy who's kind of like a loser, and
Lewis.
then yeah. And because it's like, what's the coolest thing that you can do? Like we cast Robert De Niro and you give him like a nothing role, like it's just like because he's gonna do something with it because he's De Niro. Like same thing with Pacino, like for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like he'll get these massive icons for like a small role, but he knows that they're gonna do something with it that most actors won't. But in any case.